So we are now officially at the point to where we have seen more of Shedeur Sanders than any other quarterback who has played for the Cleveland Browns this season. Shedeur has played in more games than Joe Flacco. Shedeur has played in more games than Dylan Gabriel. And based on how people have measured this season, that means we are now at a point with Shedeur to where you can start to form some assumptions about him based on the play that he's put out there. I think that's more than fair, right? After 4 games of Joe Flacco, there was assumptions made about his ability to play going forward. Right or wrong, people have made those assumptions. After 5.5 games of Dylan Gabriel, the same assumptions were made of him. And now we're at that point to where you can't just hand wave everything with, oh, he hasn't played that much, he hasn't practiced. Now we got to start to actually make some true evaluations based on what we're seeing here with Shedeur. It can't just all be theoretical. And there are some good things. There are a good amount of bad things. And there's some ugly here with Shedeur as well. And I think, because Shedeur has a huge fandom, and because if you don't say the nice things about Shedeur, there are people who will be willing to be mean to you on the internet. A lot of sugarcoating goes down when it comes to Shedeur, because people don't want to appear as biased, or people have this fear of being called biased if they're not partial to one party, because that one party will accuse them of bias. And I think it's time for us to finally start shooting straight about what we're seeing with Shedeur. What Shedeur is to me so far, from what we've seen from a sample of games that we have determined with other quarterbacks, was big enough to make these similar determinations on. I think he is a low-level starter in the league, maybe. I don't think he's there yet, but I think he could be that eventually in the future. There are things that are being ignored about Shedeur that I think I can't continue to ignore after they've existed for 6 starts at this point, right? His advanced metrics are just pitiful at this point. I mean, he's like the second lowest in EPA per play of all quarterbacks. His success rate is just not where you would want it to be for a quarterback in his position. If you look at his expected point numbers, they're pretty pitiful, right? And in his traditional stats, right? Like his touchdown interception ratio isn't in the right kind of balance that you would want it to be in. And his just regular numbers just aren't what you were hoping they would be when you saw some of the flashes with Shedeur early on. Yes, it's true that he's a young player that's developing, and he's shown some growth, and he's certainly shown some flashes, but it's also true that not every flash you see from a young player indicates that that player's gonna be a star, right? There have been plenty of players who ended up not having noteworthy careers who showed flashes early on in their career. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to become a franchise quarterback. And when you're looking for the indicators of a franchise quarterback, somebody who could work a really high level, complex NFL offense with a quick level of processing, you're just not seeing that from Shedeur. What I am seeing is a team that feels like they need to keep the reads really simple if they want to keep Shedeur in structure. I see a team that is still kind of worried about evolving the complexity of the offense, even to the level that it was with Dylan Gabriel. Like there's still certain handcuffs in the offense that did not exist with the other two quarterbacks that started here. That concerns me. And you're still watching a quarterback who relies a lot on being able to get out of structure. And I've seen from past experience that kind of style, a quarterback who's reliant on being able to play out of structure, that's the easiest thing with the offseason for NFL defenses to be able to catch up to. And when teams take those kind of looks away from Shedeur, he really does struggle because he's not good enough in his base game to be able to operate a complex offense out of it. So you end up with simplified looks that are easy to defend as well. It's part of the reason why the offense goes from pretty good in the first half of these games to pretty mediocre in the second half of these games. Look, I know it's going to be easy to think, before I even get into this film breakdown, that I'm shitting on the poor kid because I'm not speaking very positively of him right now. But I do think it's important that we speak honestly about what we're seeing. I've never heard so much positive chatter about a quarterback who's putting up the kind of numbers that Shedeur is putting up right now. As far as advanced metrics go, as far as traditional metrics go, I couldn't imagine what the conversation would be if people were trying to sell you on another year of Dillon Gabriel, and Dillon Gabriel had a negative touchdown to interception ratio and some of the worst EPA per play numbers that we've seen in the league. I couldn't imagine what the appetite for that would be. And people would not be for it. I mean, they boo Dillon Gabriel every time he gets out there. And he's only completed half of the bad puzzle of statistics that Shedeur has been able to put out there. Are there some things to get you excited that clearly differentiate him from a Dillon Gabriel? Sure, right? The throws that he's able to make, the big time throws, they are there. But the turnover worthy plays, they're more and more head scratching as each week goes on. And it concerns me about how far you can take it this early in his career. It's also worth noting, and again, I'm just trying to be brutally as honest as I can be here, right? He's 23 years old. And 23 is not old by any metric, right? He's not Tyler Shuck out there like playing at 26, but it's not super young. Right? Like there are quarterbacks with experience in the league that are the same age as Shedeur. I think Drake May, a great example. Drake May and Caleb Williams are actually still younger than Shedeur Sanders. So when you start to compare Shedeur to the other 23-year-old quarterbacks, you start to see just how far behind Shedeur is and how much he needs to catch up with. And I don't think people have sobered themselves up to that reality yet. I think there are a lot of people who want the Shedeur thing to work. And since the Browns are playing in low stakes football games, it's easy to convince yourself that this is working out perfectly. But once stakes get added to the conversation of these football games again, I question if people are really going to have an appetite for this for a whole year. I think he could still have an NFL career. I do think he is further away from that than people want to admit. I think he's 3 or 4 years away from having what he needs to have in order to have an NFL career. Like, again, he is working with, they are making the offense really, really simple for him in order for him to be able to process quickly and get the ball out on time. And that's not sustainable. Like, I'm just watching a lot of stuff that I just don't feel like is sustainable and replicatable and scalable with Shedeur, which concerns me when people are having the conversation about building around Shedeur. I'll continue to have this talk later in the week, but without further ado, that's my pre-synopsis of the breakdown. Let's get to the breakdown, but first let me thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. All right, so let's look at the Shedeur tape here, right? Again, there's some good stuff here. I think the stuff that shines the most in Shedor's tape is the stuff where he's not worried about making a read. He's just throwing the football, right? Like, I think he is a really good thrower of the football. My questions with Shedeur aren't really about his ability to make throws and more about his ability to play the kind of chess game that quarterback involves, right? When it comes to how defenses cover you and also what situations you're in. There's just a lot of things that pop up here. But when it comes to throws and just straight up making a throw, that's the best part of his game. And that's why I think there is a NFL career there somewhere with Shedeur. I just don't know how long it's going to take to access it, because I just see a lot of work that needs to be done to get to the point to where his ability to throw the football is what can shine in his game over a 17-game season. But right here, he does a great job resetting and then relocating. So he gets pressure in his lap. Alex Highsmith is here. Great job, right, with the foot, planting the foot down, rolling out. And again, Shedor's at his best when he's off schedule and able to play around with a broken down defense, right? And that's exactly what he does here. This is where you see his best vision, his best creation ability, right? He finds this void here. He throws a nice, pretty ball to the tight end. And that's the stuff that makes you go, oh, yes, right? That's why people don't care that the stats are similar to worse than what Dylan Gabriel's are. And I think that there's a reason, right? When people are talking about eye tests, this is the kind of stuff that they're referring to. But this is the stuff that I feel like kind of gets ignored here with Shedeur, right? Look at the feet on the throw here, right? This is just very basic stuff here that you expect him, especially a 4-year starter in college, to not have. And again, I had the same criticism with Dylan Gabriel when he got out there. It was stuff that for a guy who played 6 years of college football, he was not good at, that he really should have been better at. But look at the feet here for Shedeur. This is not satisfactory at all here, right? Watch. And then look at where the ball goes. This is a clean enough pocket, the easy enough throw, and he's just dropping you this stuff, right? What's this? And if it were one time in 2 weeks, whatever, but I've seen this throw almost every week, multiple times. And sometimes this has gotten picked off. And he's still having these moments where he's just giving you this. And that could have been a big play here to continue a drive here. It's the first quarter. Maybe you get to a 2nd and 3. You could open up the playbook at that point. This is a 3rd and 7, and this is a nice conversion here to Jerry Jeudy. It's a pretty easy look that they have here, right? Which is just the hook curl with the hook over. Basically telling Shedeur to read the linebacker. So read the linebacker. If he goes towards the flat, we go over. If this corner sits out, just focusing in on that. Makes a good throw, good decision. Pretty simple concept that they're throwing out there, but good choice on it. See, this is another one where it comes out kind of funky. Now, at least he has more of a crowded pocket here. But watch him. He kind of leans down here, right? And he throws this from kind of a half squat position. And it ends up dribbling on the feet of Jerry Judy here. And it's unfortunate. I think Jerry, given a better ball here, actually has his man beat. Yeah, I think he has his man beat there. So it's the right read. It's the right decision. My worry also with Shedeur is he does not have tremendous arm talent. He has fine arm strength, but arm talent, he's not really special there. And what I mean by arm talent is your ability to throw from a variety of bases. If you watch Caleb Williams, right? When Caleb Williams launches a ball for like 50 yards, he can throw that 50-yard bomb from a variety of bases. He doesn't have to be technically perfect to deliver a strike. Shedeur, I worry, has to be really clean to deliver a strike at the NFL level, right? Right here, he gets disturbed just a little bit at the top of his hitch. It's still a clean lane here that he gets to get this ball off. But look how he hunches down here. Let me zoom in on that. You see how he's hunching? Like he's standing up straight now, and then he hunches. And then he throws from this hunch position for whatever reason. And he doesn't get his feet to get momentum on this throw. And that's what makes the throw look like it's a little shit dribbler. Like is he running into that wall with what his arm talent is? When he gets his feet behind him and he's able to get that momentum and he's able to work downhill and throw that way, he can get enough behind the ball to where it's not a problem. But those few times, especially for a guy who wants to be off schedule as much as he does, where he kind of gets caught up, he doesn't have that ability. And that's a little concerning as well. Again, a really, really nice ball and a really nice route here by Cedric Tillman. I want you to watch this slot. Because here, Cedric's really good at setting up that post. So you can see he kind of sinks in here, sinks, and then he gets the corner to punch, and he swipes the punch, and then boom, he explodes, cuts. It's a great route. The simple concept, basically, you get Shedeur out there and just have him watch that corner. If it's open, 22 is taken low. You got that void there, throw it. He sees it, throws it. It's a really good throw and catch. It gets you down the field. Really nice early game plan call, too, from Tommy Rees. Then they're on the 30. Is this the Harold Fannin touchdown? Yeah, this looks like the Harold Fannin one. Another one where he throws from an awkward base and it looks like the ball suffers from it, but luckily, you see how Harold's kind of expecting this ball to go towards the pylon. It dies on him. He works back. That's a tremendous job by Harold Fannin. It's an underthrown ball for sure. Great adjustment, turning back around and catching that ball. And that's what you want your wide receivers to do, your receivers, your pass catchers to do for your quarterbacks. He gets a little bit of an off throw, adjust to it. Good. Let's look at the pocket and see why this didn't come out super clean and towards the pylon like it should have. Was it a muddy pocket? No, it's just a muddy base here. Again, another one where it's like, hey, he couldn't drive the ball because he couldn't get his body behind it. See? And instead of that ball driving where he wants it to, Fannin has to kind of make an adjustment. And again, if we're just evaluating this game in a vacuum, that's fine. It got there, it scored. if we're evaluating Shedeur in a larger context of do you want to build around him, then you got to take this one out the vacuum and ask yourself, hey, how replicatable does this play feel? Right now with that throw, it doesn't feel very replicatable, but it's a great play by Fanon to get that touchdown. So it's like a balance that you have to work here with, like, hey, what's the result? What's the process with Shedeur? And I do worry about some of these throws down the field where the ball kind of dies on him a little bit. So when his feet are clean, he's working downhill. He can put some power behind the ball. And this is what it should look like for him, right? That one right there. See how his feet were clean, step downhill. So maybe it's just a matter of getting a better offensive line there. I could see the Browns convincing themselves, hey, it's just we need to get a better offensive line. And then that way he can be cleaner from his base more often and we can access some of these more accurate throws that he's capable of making. Because if there's something that like I don't have any doubt about with Shedeur after these 6 games, his accuracy is definitely there. That's translated to the NFL level. Like that accuracy is there. That's a really nice, accurate throw on time. I do worry about how complicated you can make the offense while also trusting him to be on time. But the accuracy is certainly there. Another one, right, where he gets a clean pocket. He's able to rip this one. I thought this was his best throw of the day. This is a tough one to make and see. And this is one of those throws that gives me like hope that like maybe I'm a bit low on Shedeur and that he's capable of more than what it feels like he is based on the tape, right? Like being able to process this to where he sees this window, throws to this seam with anticipation. It gives me kind of hope that, okay, well, maybe there is a top, 15 level starter there somewhere. I don't want to be completely closed off to the idea. It's just there's so much in between these throws that throws me out, right? But this stuff is what kind of like gives me hope of maybe, if he sees the flat-footed linebacker, he throws over it. It's a really nice throw, really nice decision. This one right here is a question of like, hey, why didn't he like 19 here at the bottom of your screen? So we're going to stop here, rewind, highlight Cedric Tillman here. Dagger concept. You can see the clear coming from Sal Cannella. Clear works. Patrick Queen carries the clear. Why is this ball? I mean, the pocket's clean. Why do we not like this? Right? I don't understand why we don't like this here. If we're looking at it, you got everything you want. This is the picture that you want, right? Why don't we like this? I suspect he doesn't like this because his feet aren't great in this drop back. That's my suspicion. He gets here top and he kind of floats at the top of his steps. You see how he floats out? This shit right here. I think this shit right here is why he didn't like it and didn't throw it. Didn't have to do any of that. Just step up, make the throw. Right. But it's another example of just like being on time in the NFL is such a menagerie of so many different things that are tightly woven that there's no room for slack with any of these things when it comes to it, right? It's your feet, it's your ability to process, it's your ability to throw the ball quickly. All of these things are so tightly wound. And some guys, they have the arm talent to be able to kind of muscle their way out of being late because they can throw the football super fast and accurate. Some guys have the strength to be able to maneuver their way out of this, but it's a tightly wound clock here. And this right here, right? Boom, right here. This is enough. This is enough to fuck up the whole play. This goes from a third down conversion, a quarters beater, right, to a sack and a negative play when it didn't have to. And that puts you in field goal range too, more than likely. So, again, you gotta figure out why he didn't like this. I think it's his feet. I think it's because he didn't feel comfortable throwing the ball like that. And the reason he doesn't feel comfortable and the reason he's in that position is because he was a little bit too flighty about the pocket. But again, it goes back to that kind of thing here, right? Where because mechanically he has to be a bit more clean to get throws off, this is the thing that can happen, right? A guy like a Cam Ward can get that throw off from this base and still find a way to be correct, even though he did the wrong thing with his body. Shedeur does not have that kind of ability. So he has to be pristine when it comes to his pocket mechanics and able to work. And that's what I mean when I say, like, I just think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. It's not to say that Shedeur is like terrible or anything. It's just like, because how he needs to play is such a tightly wound style to be successful in the NFL. There's no room for error in your mechanics. There's no room for error in your dropbacks. Like, you have to be perfect at that stuff. And he's far from perfect at that stuff in order to kind of make a living as that kind of quarterback. And you have to be able to process a lot of things very quickly. And he's not really at that point to where he's processing a ton of things quickly. The 3rd and 17. Yeah, I don't mind this. I don't mind it when he runs on 3rd and long. I know some people get mad, but I don't really care. I think it's a fine decision. All right. Empty look, 3rd and 4, 7 minutes left in the second quarter. Really good decision and throw here, right? Get to the second level. It's a nice play call in, too. Pittsburgh basically just sitting at the sticks, right? When you say sitting at the sticks, you're pulling a line out of where the sticks are. And they're basically having 1, 2, 3, 4 people sit over the sticks. And what that leaves Pittsburgh vulnerable to is the intermediate part of the field. And I think Shedeur has showed good progress over the last 4 weeks of being able to attack the intermediate. He's always been good deep, but the intermediate has not really been there in the early parts of him playing. I think he's finding more comfort attacking the intermediate. You can see Pittsburgh has one guy deep, so they're worried about one of the deep guy with this guy, and then he's carrying his man all the way downfield. The Browns put him on a 9, so that's another guy. So basically, the way that Pittsburgh ends up with this play and the way that the Browns call it, you get one guy worried about 2 responsibilities over here in the intermediate part. Shedeur sees that and gets that ball where it needs to, and it's a nice, accurate football on time, really good stuff. And of course, you always appreciate a 3rd down conversion. 2nd and 6. Again, this is nice on time here, right? Pretty simple read. Basically, they just see this linebacker, this edge, get back out in coverage, and they know that's Jerry Jeudy on a slant. He stands no chance, right? So right when you see that, green light, take it. Pretty simple read. Just go. Okay, here, you like it, go. All right, this is the second quarter, 5 minutes, 3 seconds left. They get into kind of an empty look here. And this is unfortunate, right? I don't, I think that conversion's probably there, or at least it's like a 5 yard gain. The right decision. They got the linebacker hovering over it. Nobody's really over the ball there. I think that's a fine decision there by Shedeur, and he gets to it in a decent amount of time. Maybe you could have wanted him a little bit earlier, but I'm not really gonna put this sack on him, or this interception on him, because I think he made all those decision to throw all in a reasonable amount of time. What ends up happening here is Highsmith just opens up a can of whoop ass on your left tackle, and your left tackle doesn't even do a decent job of recovering here. Like, at least you want him to, at least when you get beat here, find Highsmith's hip as quick as possible and just kind of try to move him out the way so he doesn't blindside your quarterback completely. But right here, I mean, he just leaves his quarterback to get blindsided, and that's what's going to happen. That's thoroughly on the left tackle there, that interception. Now, this interception, or should have been an interception, would have been completely on Shedeur, right? So what happens here? Play action here, drop. And again, look at the feet. The feet are just, they're shitty feet. He underthrows this ball. And again, for a guy who wants to survive in a league like Shedeur with the traits that Shedeur has, there's really no margin of error here, right? You can't afford to be a little late, a little slow, here or there. You got to be perfect when you're trying to live with the kind of skills that Shedeur has. Same thing's true with the Dillon Gabriel, right? And that's why Dillon looked like shit when he was out there. At least Shedeur is a little bit more physically talented, so he has a little bit more slack, right? But there's not a ton of slack here. So you see the feet just late charge, nasty feet. This thing's slow and behind. I mean, this guy almost breaks on it. It's a linebacker, too. That's an edge rusher. He almost breaks on that, and that would have been game for the Cleveland Browns right there if he would have scored. That would have been the ball game. Fortunately, he plays edge, so he can't catch. But that would have been the ball game right there. And unlike the previous interception, where I think that's completely on the left tackle, this one's 100% would have been on Shedeur, right? Just a bad throw. It's a late throw. It's an outbreaking route. You're late to it. You didn't put enough power into it. I mean, that's textbook mistakes. It's kind of the stuff I'm talking about where I'm saying, like, hey, because the game plan is so simplified to kind of get Shedeur to be quick and on time, it's real easy for Pittsburgh to just take stuff away. And you can see how the defense it just becomes really easy for Pittsburgh once we get in closer and closer to the second half of this game, right? It just condenses down the Browns' options. The same exact thing happened with Dillon Gabriel, right? But this is a issue that exists with the Browns offense and also with like what they're allowing their quarterbacks to do. Now, maybe Shedeur is much more capable than the simplicity of this offense allows him to demonstrate. And I would love to see if that's the case. Let's get another coach in here who runs a different offense and see if it's the case where Shedeur is capable of more here. But it does concern me at times where I look at this, how simplistic they want this offense to be, and how they haven't really unleashed it over the last couple of weeks, which I really thought they were going to do. This is a nice job by Shedeur, though, to withstand pressure, take a hit, and just throw that football to the 87 there, right? Nice ball there. And again, it's a third down conversion. A really nice throw. Good job there. Second and 14 here on the 31. This is in the third quarter of the game. This one here, he breaks out quickly. Let me see if there's anything there that would have been there. Probably want him to find his tight end here instead of try to run out for this, but he showed himself to be capable enough as a runner to where I think it's worthwhile to see if he can break that corner and do something with the football. So I'm not really upset at this sack. First and 15. They're coming out empty. Look how many guys are on the fucking line of scrimmage here. It just makes it so easy to condense it. Look at this. Oh God. I don't know about this offense, man. We're just putting running backs out wide. I wonder about running this back if this is the plan. As far as Shedeur goes, though, Shedeur executes this fine. Sees 24, stand there flat footed. Wasn't a great game by the Steelers defense this week, boy. There was not a lot of locked inness that you saw this week. It was a lot of checked out. They did not give a fuck this week. Like, I'm gonna be honest here. I know people love the glaze Mike Tomlin. Oh, his team's always fighting all this. Boy, I'm watching them. This is as locked out of a team as I've seen since the Miami game. Look at this shit. Look at the top of the corner. The corner did not give a fuck about anything. He's just daydreaming back there. He looks like me playing left field in fucking coach pitch. Oh shit. Like, what's going on with Pittsburgh? Yeah, dude, for a team that prides itself on culture, dog, like this is a shocking amount of not being locked in. Oh boy, this interception. Yeah, you can't throw like more than 3 of these in a season and keep your job. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna just be honest with you. For any quarterback that's not being paid like even if you're like getting paid $50 million, like Tua had like 3 of these bad boys and they benched him. Kyler got benched for throwing a couple of these bad boys. You can't throw these in the NFL. It's non-negotiable, right? Like these are the type of interceptions you absolutely cannot throw in the NFL. Off your back foot, turned around. Do you practice that shot? I know you don't practice that shot. Shout out to Patrick Ewing, right? Just a bad intercept. You can't have it. There's no excuse for it. I've seen people try to make up an excuse for it. It's inexcusable. I mean, even Shador would tell you that that's an inexcusable interception. Roll right here. He realized the play is dead. Just throw the fucking thing out of bounds. It's 2nd and 5, man. You're up by 4 points. You're in the 4th quarter. Why in the world would you give Pittsburgh a ball here, right? Like, why in the world would you give him a heart line here? Like, you don't have to. I understand Jerry Jeudy put his arm up, but you make the fucking decision, right? And you don't, like, we have seen Shedeur struggle to throw the ball off base all game here, right? He has seen himself struggle to throw the football when he's not on a clean base all game. What possesses him to think that he can make this throw turning around, spinning around like Tracy McGrady, fucking NBA Live 04? I don't know. But you can't throw more than like 3 of these, man. You throw 3 of these, you got to sit on the bench. I don't care who you are. That's an atrocious interception. That's like his 2nd one this year like this. I think there is actually another one like this, but I'll be generous. He's definitely thrown 2 interceptions like this, though. 2, what the fuck are you even thinking about? Like, that DB cannot believe you threw that turd up in the air. Like, it's unbelievable. If the Browns would have lost that game on this possession that you just gave up here, people would accuse the Browns of like legitimately like telling Shedeur to tank. Like that's what it looks like. That is one of the worst interceptions I've seen. So bad. It's so bad. Again, you can only throw like 3 of those in a season and keep your job. Like you get benched as the number 1 overall draft pick if you do shit like that. That's crazy. That's insane. Can't happen again. Just simply can't. Right here again, the Steelers just really condensed down what the Browns could do in the second half of this game. So you're just going to see a lot of check downs. Took away the deep ball, forced them into 3rd and long situations, forced them to punt. I mean, it was basically like this for most of the rest of the game. I think this is the last play we're going to see. Little play action. They take away. Jalen Ramsey does a good job here. He runs, and Jalen Ramsey just smacks him. And that forces a 3rd and short. And let's see what happens on that 3rd and short. I think they run and don't convert. But that's the breakdown on Shedeur, man. There's some good there. There's some bad there. There's some ugly there. I think that's just the reality of where we're at with Shedeur. It's not as good as some of the diehard Shedeur fans would love to have you believe. It's not unplayable like some of his haters make it out to be, but it's not necessarily in the middle either, right? Like I think there are some signs there that he could have a NFL career, but the level of that NFL career is not what I think anybody's talking about it being. It's probably on the lower end of the starter spectrum. There are some moments that make me want to reconsider that evaluation of him when I see him, like the throw to Jerry Jeudy there in the second quarter of the game, where I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe he could be, a Brock Purdy, Bo Nix level starter, but the consistency and complexity is just not there. The level of speed with the processing is not there. And most importantly, the ability to throw the ball while not having things be perfect for him just doesn't seem to be there at a high enough level. And some of those things are fixable given a lot of time, and some of those things just aren't that fixable, right? I end up at a place where I think that the Browns aren't going to sit back and just be cool with running it back with Shedeur, more than likely. That might not be what anybody wants to hear. It wasn't what people wanted to hear going into this. I'm sure I'll be called everything but a child of God for saying it. But I think that's where we're at, right? I think the Browns are going to look at what they've seen and say to themselves, there's some stuff that we like, and certainly enough here to where we be interested in hanging on to Shedeur, but not enough to where we're going to really put our hopes in that basket, right? I think they're going to evaluate the free agent market and probably bring in a quarterback in the offseason. I think they're going to evaluate the draft market and see how much it costs to trade up or to get a quarterback in this year's draft. And I think they're going to evaluate the veteran market and see what it costs to trade for a veteran. I expect the Browns to look at quarterback as a need this offseason because what we've seen from Shedeur certainly hasn't erased that need. It hasn't been terrible. It hasn't been all bad. I don't think it's as bad as some of the numbers suggest that it is, right? Some of the numbers suggest that it's been terrible. It's not been terrible. There's certainly sparks of hope in there. There's certainly flashes of hope in there, but I just don't think that there's enough there to really feel comfortable about putting everything on. And let's be real, if the Browns don't win games next year, everything's gone, right? Like you're probably seeing if teams want to trade for Myles Garrett, you're probably seeing if teams want to go and get Denzel Ward, right? If you can't get to a competitive place by the end of the 2026 season, the writing's on the wall for what 2027 is going to be about. So there's not really a ton of time here for the Browns to really figure it out. And there is a sense of urgency this offseason that's also going to speed along things. So that's just my honest opinion. You might not like it. You might like it. You might think it's perfect. You might think it's the worst shit you've ever heard. And who's this asshole speaking to you from a chair and never listen to me again? All fair enough reactions, to be honest with you. It's just my thoughts based on what I'm seeing on tape. Let me know what you think based on what you've seen on tape. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.